Well, it might seem mildly far-fetched, but not entirely, because Rome, like America, was an imperial republic, had a senate, had a capitol. And I think the key point of comparison is that politics in Rome was not primarily about policy. It was about style. And I think that's where the parallel with Trump is so interesting, because the conventional style in Roman politics was that you would side with the establishment way of doing things. You would articulate opinions that had been expressed down the centuries. But there was a rival tradition, the popularist tradition. That didn't mean that you were socialist, that you necessarily sided with the people. But what it meant was that you cut a dash and you made yourself an attractive person to the people by letting them know that you shared their interests, and often you would sponsor their interests. So I think the parallel between a Caligula or a Nero laying on flamboyant entertainments and a Donald Trump treating the selection of his cabinet as though it's a game show is an intriguing one.
It sounds casually as though you're just being rude to compare him to somebody like Nero or Caligula.
Well, the thing about Nero and Caligula, of course, is that their histories were written by their enemies. They consciously set out to insult and offend the establishment, rather in the way that Trump rode roughshod over first the Republican establishment and then liberal opinion as expressed by, say, the New York Times. You can imagine that the verdict of the New York Times on Trump will not be kind. In a similar way, the verdict of establishment Roman historians on Nero and Caligula was similarly brutal, and they were cast as being mad, as insane, as violent. They were certainly not pleasant people, but there was a lot of political sense to what they did, because they got the backing of the people in a way that enabled them to stand up to the traditional senatorial elite. And they were very effective as politicians, exactly as Trump has been so far.
What about the idea of using your family, those around you?
That is impeccably Roman. The whole Roman political system depended on patronage, and the Latin word patronus gives us the English word patron, but it also gives us the Italian word padrone. And there is a slight whiff, I think, of the mafia about maybe Donald Trump's enthusiasm for using his own family members, people he particularly trusts. And that model of the mafia does, I think, ultimately go back to Roman patterns. I mean, I think the best TV drama about ancient Rome isn't I, Claudius, it's The Sopranos.